Welcome to Inspired Edinburgh, the home of powerful conversations. I'm Elliot Reeves, and my guest today is Col Gray. Col is a graphic and brand designer, owner and head honcho of Pixels Inc., a comic book geek, a speaker and a YouTuber. You have a passion for branding that is as big as your beard, although I'm not so sure. With 20 years of brand and graphic design experience under your signature baseball cap, you help people rock their brand by creating strong visual branding combined with a solid brand strategy that has personality and vision. You help Clark Kent become Supermen. Col, it's brilliant to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Elliot.
It's brilliant to have you here. So the superhero thing seems to be quite a sort of thread in the kind of the line of work that you do. Who is your favourite superhero?
Now you put, let's see, like which one springs to mind straight away.
Yeah.
Probably Deadpool is there
awesome.
just because he breaks the fourth barrier, and speaks directly to the audience. That was a new thing when he came out, and it just makes me laugh. And I think Ryan Reynolds has done a great job with bringing that out. So in terms of that, he's really, really cool. And Lobo is probably one that not many people know, but Lobo is a biker alien. Basically, that's how you could describe him, a Hell's Angel alien type stuff. He's really cool. But he's a DC. I'm more of a Marvel fan. Okay. But I'm not so much a DC fan, but Lobo's DC, so I'll give him
that. So, I mean, it would be really, I mean, for myself as well, kind of fascinating to kind of go back to Col's early life, where you kind of grew up and what that sort of, experience was like for you.
Sure. Born and bred in Dundee. I've never lived anywhere else. I've lived in different schemes of Dundee, but not out with. I'm the oldest of 6 children. Wow. So I got the blame for a lot of things growing up. If my brothers and sisters are watching this, I love you all. But as a kid, I was always doodling and drawing. That's like my earliest memories, being like my gran and granddad's, and they had like a red leather like book, whether it was lined or not, I can't quite remember. I would go and visit on a Sunday for Sunday lunch, and I would always be drawing and doodling in that. And then primary school, if anything needed to be drawn for a poster or something, it was always get Colin to do it. So that kind of built up a little bit of an ego in me in primary school as this artist, and then that was kind of blown out the water when I went to secondary school and I wasn't the best. Okay. when you go to art class, I had a great art teacher for a couple of years, and he grounded me. He was like, you need to put your efforts in because you've got natural talent there, but you need to kind of follow some basic rules and stuff. So I was always into drawing and stuff. I was about 9 or 10 when I'd always been into the Beano and the Dandy. That was like the classic UK ones. Yeah. I was about 10 or 11 when my gran bought me an American comic, which was a Marvel one. It was called Secret Wars, and that was probably the best one to get into at that time because it was all of the heroes and all of the villains fighting themselves on an alien planet. It was just great. As a 10-year-old, it just blew my mind. And I got into sort of 2000 AD and Judge Dredd and all kind of more grown-up stuff. And I was just fascinated by the drawings. Now, I'm not a great illustrator. I can't draw people. My life drawing teachers at uni would testify to the fact that my people looked a bit strange. So I was very much more the layouts of comics and the panels and the graphic stuff, the lettering, the typography, that sucked me in, and I really, really liked that. So when I was at school, I got more into that type of stuff, more into layouts and things. And when I left school, I wanted to go to art college, and I put together a portfolio, and I didn't get in, unfortunately. I wanted to get in, but I wanted to put a portfolio together, so I went to Dundee College, who had a portfolio course. You build your portfolio, and you go to art college. And they told me that my portfolio wasn't good enough to get on the portfolio course, which kind of confused me a little bit. I thought we were trying to build a portfolio, so I was really down about that because I didn't have any other plans. I wanted to go to art college. So it was raining really heavily that day, And I had one of those massive portfolios because I'd done exits and entrances for my 6th-year studies at school, so massive charcoal drawings and stuff of just structure and layouts. And I didn't want to get wet, so I left it at the college and said, can I pick it up later? So I went back that was the Friday, I went back on the Monday, picked it up, took it away, thought nothing of it. A week later, I got a phone call from one of the lecturers at Dundee College saying, I hope you don't mind, but when you left your portfolio in the staff room, I had a little flick through it, and I really liked what you've done. We've actually got a space on the interior design course. Would you like it? And I was like, well, I've got nothing else to do. So I joined that course. I was the only boy on that course. It was all girls and me. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but we did life studies and the stuff that you did in all the other classes. Halfway through that year, someone had decided they wanted to swap into interior, and they knew that I wanted to do more graphic stuff, and they said, we've got someone who wants to swap from the graphic design illustration course. Would you like to swap with them? And I was like, yes, please. And so I moved into that class, and it was more illustrative graphic design because they had graphic design advertising, which is kind of, I suppose, what I do now. But it was a great move, and I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, and a lot of my college friends were there, so it was like a reunion, sort of a few years now since we left there, and that was sort of the beginning of my graphic design journey. And I was there for 3 years, got my HND, graduated, didn't know what to do with myself, went down to Duncan of Jordanston College of Art in Dundee. They had an open day, and was going through went to graphic design obviously first, and then was wandering around and bumped into this gentleman wearing a Donald Duck bow tie, and just started speaking to him. And he ran the brand new animation course that they were starting, or it'd been going for a year. I thought, that sounds amazing. I love animation and cartoons and stuff. Started speaking to him, and he said, well, why don't you apply? So I applied for that course and got on it, and so started my animation degree, did that for 3 years, learned a lot of skills, learned about patience. 30 frames, 25 frames a second, individual hand-drawn. That was something else. Stop motion, learned a bit about video, about how to set a shoot up and things like that. Basic things at that point. As I got into my 3rd year, I started to get back more into graphic design again. The web was coming up. This was 1997, 98. So the web was still, this is 20 years ago. The web was around, but it was more basic than it is now. So web pages, design, layout, and I thought I'll get into maybe animation for the web. Completed my degree, got my honours degree, and left wanting to pursue graphic design again, and kind of got left going with a new revitalized approach for it. So that's kind of my quick track through education anyway.
And I mean, you've virtually worked in that, ever since, really, is that right?
I have, yeah. My first job out of college, like a lot of people, was in a call centre. So many graduates work in call centres. It's amazing. Bit soul destroying as well, but you needed to make money. I think my first job was for 4 weeks in a print shop in Dundee. That was a baptism of fire. That's when you realise that sometimes, I think it's different now, but back then the colleges and universities didn't tie in with industry. What you did in uni was get your degree. You completed tasks that fulfilled your degree, didn't prepare you for industry, for what business owners needed you to do. So I walked in there thinking, I've done graphic design and animation, I'm perfect for this. They used different software than I'd been used to. At uni, you got 12 weeks to complete a project. This is like, we need this done by the afternoon. It was stressful, very stressful. Didn't get on very well with the manager of that print shop, and so I ended up, leaving that and kind of looking for other bits and bobs. But it was good. It kind of opened up a lot of, not doors, but it made me realise that there's different areas within graphic design. It's not all, you don't have to be doing adverts for magazines. There's other things that you can be doing. And so that's a kind of a story throughout the different jobs that I've had. I've had good bosses, and I've had bosses which I would say, you know, looking at the time were horrendous and really stressful to work for, but looking back, a lot of lessons learned in how I run my business now and what not to do and how not to treat people. So I can thank them for teaching me that. Back then, no, I couldn't be around them, but there's lots to take from that. So it's interesting to go back, to go through everything, and But yeah, I'm fully embracing. I suppose I'm fully, as you've mentioned, I'm fully embracing the branding side of graphic design now.
Yeah.
I've cut my teeth doing the adverts and the flyers and the posters, and I still do them. But my focus is now more on the sort of the bigger picture. What do you need behind all of this branding materials? What needs to be there?
Yeah.
That's what people are focusing on. So.
Yeah, I mean, branding's an interesting one. I suspect that, certainly from my own perspective, it's probably something that's maybe slightly misunderstood. I mean, if you can give an overview perhaps as to like what branding is and some of the ways in which I suppose businesses can use branding or improve their branding.
I think the biggest thing for people is that a lot of people misinterpret or think brand and branding are the same thing. Your brand is kind of the intangible stuff. It's how people feel about your product or service. Your branding is how you promote your brand. So it's the physical things. So it's your logo, it's your flyers, it's your posters, it's your YouTube
business
videos,
cards,
it's things that people can interact with. Although you do interact with a brand through speaking and stuff like that, the easiest way that I say is brand is intangible, it's how people feel, branding is the physical items. You could go into it more than that, but I think that helps people differentiate the two, and it kind of makes it easier for them to go, oh, I see a lot of that. I get it now, okay, and they can then go on their own journey with it. Before then, when you mix the two of those up, it becomes confusing and you don't know, how to move forward. And I think by clarifying that, you can put plans and strategies into place, which is what a lot of people don't have as a strategy for the brand. Yeah.
And so from your perspective, do you see a kind of misalignment often between those two things?
Yeah, I think people think that their brand can be whatever's a hot topic at that moment, and so they will adjust their brand to ride a wave of what's happening. Now, you can do that. You can newsjack, I suppose, they call it. You can use things to jump on. If it's the Olympics, you can make something which is sport related, but you can only really do that successfully if you are 100% solid in your brand's purpose and where your brand's going to go and your core values. If you are purely acting on the latest trends, you're not giving people anything to cling on to. It's kind of, I don't know what they're selling. What's their message? One minute they're humorous, the next minute they're sporty, the next minute they're serious. What's the feeling? If you take, for example, a brand like Coca-Cola, who sponsor Olympics and things like that, they do have a common thread though. It's family and friendship and sharing in everything that they do. That's what Coke is. That's theirs. You then take Iron Brew, another soft drink company, but entirely different. It's totally irreverent and just uses Scottish humour and in their adverts, and so many of their adverts don't make it to TV. You can only watch them on YouTube because they're banned. Right. And I love that about them, that they're willing to do that. But they know who they are. They're like, this is us. This is what we do. We're not going to bend or break. Brewdog are probably the same, and that type of thing. Innocent Smoothies, they know who they are. They're playful. You look at the bottom of their cartons that says, "Stop looking at my bottom." Things like that. It's these little things that will embed themselves. That's a brand. That's emotional connection between you and your customer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the latest technique or tactic to sell your product. It's building up a relationship so that even if you do make a mistake down the line, you'll be forgiven for it because they've made a mistake. That's normally not what they do. Mm-hmm. I think to be very on topic is yesterday was the it's coming up to Christmas now when we're recording this, and Greg's made that advert where they replaced the baby Jesus with the sausage roll. Now, I thought it was funny. Yeah. It's very on brand. Greg's are very, but I can see how that would upset some people. It'll be over. It'll be forgotten about. But at the same time, look at the publicity.
Yeah.
Did they do that on purpose, knowing that they would get some, because it would possibly offend some people? But it's okay to be offended,
mm-hmm.
by brands. It's not going to ruin your life. Let a brand offend you. If it does, and you don't want to do business with them, just move on. It's not going to. The brand's not really going to take notice because they'll juggernaut on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. That's where a brand is different to branding. You're building up an emotional connection, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with. If it's bad, that means the brand is more likely pushing you away because you're not the ideal person for them. So that's a good way to use your brand is, pull people in who you want to work with, but push people away who are not your ideal customers. So there's a lot of that goes around. It's not just drawing pretty pictures for me. I've got to think about these things for my clients.
Absolutely.
When we're starting the strategy. So
it's very nuanced.
Very.
And I remember one of the things that you wrote where it was like people want to create something and it's not what they want, it's what the customer wants. Yeah. It's what they can relate to. Yeah. You have to be designing it for someone else.
You do. It's that's my catchphrase is that the logo's not for you type of thing. Now take that with a pinch of salt. Obviously you have to like the logo that you're going to live with. But I think if a designer does the job correctly and takes their client through the process of this is why your brand identity, your logo is like this, is because we've researched your customers, we know where they hang out, we know this, and this is what appeals to them. You will bring in something of the client as well. I like to bring in little stories that the clients told me into the logo that really the viewer won't know unless my client tells them. Maybe writes a blog about the process they went through designing the logo. I've got one client who loves flamingos, pink flamingos. Now, if you looked at the logo, there's one section which is pink, so now I've said pink flamingos, you could go, oh, that's how it's got in there. But it's actually more than that. I have got references in there to flamingos. And I have other clients where we've got stories in there that they can tell if someone asks or if they want to sort of just have something to start a conversation. And did you know that my logo has this in it? Yeah. And so these are hidden stories. And that's usually what gets a client excited, is that hidden secret that they have, that only they know, and it's up to them whether they tell people. But at the same time, on the flip side, visually, the logo has been designed because that's what the customer's looking for. So it's a great job to have, being able to, you're kind of a storyteller, but not with words. They say an image speaks 1,000 words. You kind of have that, but when I'm talking about having stories and things, it's not the literal, we're an airplane around the globe, we're a railway, train on a track. It's not those types of stories. Those logos can be very cliched and not really work. You want something which is a bit more individual. And they're hard work. It's not easy to do. Yeah. It might look it when the logo's done and you go, I could have done that. That's a 5-minute job. But it only looks like that because of 6 weeks of research and iteration. So it's different.
So if someone comes to you then, for example, and they want to go from, Clark Kent to Superman, I mean, what does that kind of process look like? How do you analyse and break it down? And
getting to I mean, obviously, some people might be Wonder Woman. Let's not get.
I did think that at the beginning.
I'm very aware of that. Actually, I'm thinking I might need to change that because it's very. Not everyone wants to be Superman. I mean, and there's me saying earlier on, I'm a Marvel more than a DC, but it's one of those. It's a brand. Superman's a brand. Everyone knows it. Yeah. So that's kind of it's getting. What's the quickest way for me to get across what I do? When a client approaches me, obviously we'll have a chat and we'll find out what they want. But my process, the first thing that we do is we'll find out what their core values are. It's easier if it's one person starting a business. The core values will be their core values, not what they think the business's core values are. Because when you start down that road, you're being something else. You're not being you. And so you're constantly, when you're marketing or whatever, you're having to switch your brain into a business mode almost and say, this is what the brand needs to be. Whereas if you are essentially the brand, you're starting the business, so it's your thing. So you want your values to be in there, so it's natural. You wake up in the morning, you can brand your business because it's you. And by going through the core values, you maybe wouldn't be surprised, but the reactions that you get when you make someone think about what their core values are, because they may on the surface think they know what they are, but then I make them work hard on them. It may take someone an hour, it may take someone a week to go through the process. It's a fairly simple process. 500 words, tick which ones you just instantly have a relationship with, narrow those down to 25, then 15, then 5. Oh, nice. And for some people, getting from the 10 to the 5 can be really, really hard. So we get them to do that, and then we look at those core values and we break those down a little bit and go, okay, where does that, in which part of your life does this represent? Is it family life? Is it where you see your business? Is it see how you help your customers? And what does it represent as your product? And going through that. Now, a lot of people might think, I just want you to draw a picture. But that's how a lot of people do. That's how a lot of quick logos are done. It's just, I need something to represent this. But I've learned over the years that those tend to be the logos which change after a year. When the person goes, this doesn't fit my business anymore. What I'm trying to do is create a brand identity that can grow as the business grows, so that it's always going to be, it will change and tweak, but it's not going to be a brand new logo. It's going to just evolve as they go. So we'll go through that. And from that point on, the hard bit's kind of done from the client's perspective. That's their homework. That's their big thing. And then we'll research their customers, their competitors, where people hang out, what do they like, what do they not like. Sometimes I'll ask the client to give me examples of logos that they like and dislike, but we have to remember the logo's not for them. So this is just to give me an idea of a ballpark of where to start with. And then I will start to do some concepts, and I will just start sketching. I'm still a big one for using, well, I was using sketchbooks. I've now got my iPad Pro, which I love. Getting used to a plastic pencil on a plastic screen, though, from paper was interesting, but it helps me speed things up, and I can now keep a digital track of everything. I can time-lapse record my sketching, which is just as interesting for me to look back on and look at where I've gone through. Oh, that idea's come from there. It's kind of evolved through. So I will sketch, could be dozens, could be hundreds of ideas. Then I will cherry pick 4 or 5, which I think have legs in them, process those a little bit more, and then I'll narrow that down to 2, maybe 3, which I'll present to the client and say, after all the research, and it just lets them know that I've looked at all the angles, because they'll often say, what about if we did? I've already done that. It won't work in this situation. Sometimes I'll show the client the sketch as evidence. See, there it is there. But more often than not, that just muddies the waters for the client. It gets their brain thinking on design, and that's not their speciality. I'm almost trying to keep them away from that side, so that I'm presenting to them, here's the solution. Is this right for you? Do we think this is going to be the right thing? And then we will take a concept, and we will develop that further into the final design. So as a process, it's around about 6 weeks. Some can be quicker if the client isn't working on anything else and I've got an open timeline. We can do it really quickly. But to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of that, because I myself need to take a break from it, because it's like looking at anything. You become used to it and you can't see the wood for the trees sometimes. So I like to take 48 hours, sometimes a week, and go back at it and go, because I might have lots of sketches and not see anything, and then go back after a week and go, that's got possibilities, and I'll take it on. So time and rest between the different stages of the project is good for me and it's good for the client. If we have a call, the good thing about technology today is I'll have video calls with my clients, and we can share screens, and we'll discuss the concept, and I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to send over a PDF now with the concepts. Don't look at it till tomorrow. Just don't look at it till tomorrow. I know that's going to be hard for you, but don't look at it till tomorrow, so that you're coming at it fresh, and then give me your initial feedback then when you're looking at it that way. Don't show it to your mum, don't show it to your gran, don't show it to your wife, because they'll give you feedback which is not the feedback you need. Because family members and friends want to protect their friend. So if they see any negative connotations, that's what they'll bring up, and that'll put doubt into the client's mind. The client and I have gone through 6 weeks of research, knowing that this is right. The family member or their friend doesn't know the research, and so they're like, oh, knee-jerk reaction, and it puts doubts into the client's mind. So I say, look, they're not your ideal customer. This is targeted at your customers, not your family. And so that's a big thing as well, is telling people, don't listen to your friends. Listen to me. You know, that's why you're paying me, is because I have the experience of this, and trust me, we're doing the right thing. You know, so it's almost the agony uncle. We're doing the right thing here. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
How much do you struggle with kind of perfectionism?
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely. The scariest part of the project for me is the first concept call, where I'm presenting what I think is the right thing. I just get so nervous about it, which I think is a good thing. I think it's like, let's think it's like performers who go on stage who always say, if I didn't feel nervous, I don't care enough. If I just went on and was like, blah, blah, and didn't feel nerves, I wouldn't be putting everything into it. I should be nervous. I'm confident that it's the right thing, and I've never had one go bad. I've never had one where the clients flipped the table over and walked out the door. It's always, if anything, they might have some concerns and stuff, but that's the point, is they should have concerns. They should throw it back at me. I should have to kind of not justify the idea or the concept, but explain to them, where's this concept come from? Why are we doing this? But a lot of the time, because my processes now involve all of this conversation with the client and the core values and everything, more often the client understands and they go, I like it. I like where we're going with this. And so when that concept call's done, for me, it's downhill from there on in, because it's now a process of iterations, brand guidelines, getting it out there. It's the build up to that where it's like, this is it. This is what it's like. This is the 20 years. This is what it's down to, Col. This is make or break moment. Have we cracked it? And to be honest, it does. It just works perfectly. The process works, and that's it. If you follow the process, it will work. If it doesn't, something's been missed, and you could always go back. And that's the thing as well, because it's a process. If there is something that worries the client, you can say, okay, well, let's go back to your core values, or let's go back to where your customers hang out. Do we think this fulfills that? And more often than not, it's go, yeah, you're right, actually, I'd forgotten about that, and you move on. Before, when I started, maybe, well, Pixels Inc.'s 13 years old, so if we went back to the start of Pixels Inc., not so much my design, where I was doing logos for very little money, which meant I could spend very little time on it, that sort of thing. I wouldn't be able to go back and go, well, if you look at where this is going to be targeted. So I've learned a lot from that, and I have sympathy, and I understand new designers who are starting out and aren't charging a lot, who feel concerned that they're spending too much time, and when they break it down into sort of an hourly rate, which I don't, I'll say this now, designers, you shouldn't be charging on an hourly rate, you should be charging on value. That I understand, but I would say to them, spend the time. Even if you're not making a huge amount, spend the time, build up the process, and it won't take long before people will see that you're a professional and you are taking the time and the value is there, so you will be able to charge more for it. It's one of the things as a designer, the business side is the side we don't want to do. And we want to help people. We want to create these things which makes a difference. When you have to start talking about money, that's when you start to get, oh man, how much do I charge for this? I'm just drawing pictures. How much can I charge for that? But I've now got to a point where I understand the value of what I'm giving.
How do you establish that?
I think you can only establish that value when you do have experience and you can say to a client, here's examples. So that's why, I would say, that's why I'm saying to designers, you will have to put the effort in and the work for probably not much money at the start, but not for too long, because you can end up making it difficult for yourself. I did that. I charged very little, but provided amazing service and value. And it got to the point where I got a reputation for that. He's amazingly good and he's dead cheap. Nobody wants to be told or referred they're dead cheap. So that was a hard battle for me to get out of that. And it's only the past 3 years that I've managed to get out of that. And that's sort of by surrounding myself by people who value what I do and tell me every day, Col, you're worth more than that. You need to, as a sole designer, you need to surround yourself with other business people, successful ones, people who are starting up, not just other designers. Because if it's other designers who are doing the same as you just become neurotic about it, and you're like, oh, but they're only charging that as well, so I can't possibly charge this. It's a bit like Apple, I suppose. Apple gets slated as, oh, you're a sheep if you follow Apple. But they're the ones that take the step to the future. They are they're the ones that removed floppy drives from their computers. They're the ones that removed the 3.5mm jack, and everyone's like, well, I want to use my headphones. All the new iterations of smartphones from Samsung, like, where's the jack? It's always good to have the scapegoat. And I think if you are surrounded by people who are, it's always been done this way, let's keep doing it this way, then you'll always do it that way. What was it someone said to me? Nothing changes if nothing changes. So you need to take that leap. And I'm not the bravest of people, but in the past 3 years I've been taking those leaps and going, I should have done this 10 years ago, because it was scary. It was like jumping off a cliff edge. But there were people around me to catch me, to help me and move on. It wasn't going to be a disaster. What's the worst that could happen? Might lose all my clients. Yeah, but if you're moving because you want clients who value you, is it not a good thing that you lose clients who don't value you and start working for clients who do? So but when it's paying the bills time, that's when it gets scary. But I don't want to lose all my clients. I would say take the leap. As scary as it is, take the leap and do it. Easy for me to say, and a lot of the books that I've read are by people who are 6-figure, 7-figure design agencies and stuff. So they're already there. So you can kind of point, it's easy for you to say that now. Put my hand up, folks. I'm not in the 6-figure bracket. I'm starting out. I'm kind of Pixels Inc.'s 13 years old, but I'm treating myself like I'm 3. Because that's where my journey started really 3 years ago, in terms of thinking like a business and not a a designer. Not, you know, it's a different mindset that they need to have, or designers need to have. So yeah, get a bit schooly now, a bit teachery.
I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on things like Fiverr. Or like Upwork, and how potentially disruptive that is in terms of, you know, are people now looking at those as viable options?
Yeah.
You know, £20 for a logo rather than whatever
I used to not even say the word Fiverr, because I just couldn't see why people would use it. So why should I help them by speaking their name? But I've come to the conclusion, because I'm more confident in my own abilities now, and I'm more confident that people that want to work with me will work with me, that Fiverr is what it is. Now, I still disagree with the way it works in terms of logos, because there's so many dangers with it. You know, it's people who haven't been trained, and there's instances of people who've had logos designed and the designers used, designer loosely, has used clip art as part of the logo, or used a stock image, and the client's unaware, and then they get hauled up later on, and it's the client that's at fault. And because Fiverr, you know, when you sign a deal with Fiverr, it's with the designer, it's not with Fiverr. And that's the clever thing with these types of websites. Your deal isn't with, they're just a facilitator. But I've directed clients to Fiverr when they've wanted graphic for social media. Things like that, things which, if you've already got a brand identity and something, you just need somebody to mock something up. There's loads of skilled people out there that will do that, you know. So if it can save you money, if it's going to cost you £100 for me to do it, but you can get it done for, you know, and it's not worth my time. I could do it. It would cost them 10 times, 20 times as much, and I'd make money out of it, but it's not where my focus is. So I think Fiverr is good for those really quick things. I've noticed that they've started Fiverr Pro, which is where they've got some fairly big names actually in there doing that. But I think for me, Fiverr has it's built its brand on cheap. And so I don't, I think it's an uphill struggle for them to do that. Upwork, I think is a better thing. I've never used it myself, not entirely sure how it works, but you know, I think people will get paid a better rate for it, more sort of outsourcing. Fiverr I don't class as outsourcing. Upwork maybe more so, because people are kind of choosing to be there. I don't know if they set their hourly rate or how it works, but I think it'd be slightly better than Fiverr. And then you've got your other things like 99 Designs, which are competition-based websites where you say, I want a logo that does this, I have this budget, and then people submit designs. That's spec work in my thing, and I have a big thing about no spec. I believe you should be paid for the work that you do. So yes, the client wins, they get lots of designs, but they also get lots of designs just thrown at them. It's like my sketching stage. I do hundreds of sketches, but they're not for use. 99 Designs is all sketch work, and you have to pick one, and that's your logo. So you need to be careful with these things. It might look like a good deal. Wow, I'm getting hundreds of designers giving me the designs, but a lot of them are amateurs. It's amateur designers. They're the ones that are in there. And you'll notice on 99 Designs that there's maybe 3 or 4 people who are winning all the time, winning all these things because they're the professionals. And so, you know, they kind of know what they're doing, and they've been in there since the start, and they've cornered the market. So is there any point really in doing that? So I have a love-hate thing with them. I think they serve a purpose for some things, but I do think in the scheme of things, they do damage graphic design in terms of it being a skilled professional area. Like, you know, lawyer, you know, is paid well because people, lawyers, I'll pay a lawyer because they're good at what they do, and, you know, I need their expertise. For some reason, graphic design is treated as a secondary thought, and but surely you can just throw that together for me, and you know, and it'll be fine, and it'll be great. And how much are you going to charge me for that? Oh, come on, I could get my nephew to do that for me. You wouldn't say that about, you know, a lawyer. I could get my nephew to knock up those papers for me. graphic design isn't any different. We are all trained. You know, I've done 6 years. You know, I've done animation for 3. I did my graphic design for 3, and then I've kind of served my time working in agencies and studios. Probably put in more training than lawyers or doctors. You know, so it's. But I think it's just that thing that design is often seen as easy to do. You know, but that's a good sign. If we use logos as an example, the sign of a good logo is if it's really simple, and people think I could do that in 5 minutes. No, you could probably, you know, after repetition, after you would eventually end up at that, but it's there for a purpose because it's been focused in on that. So it's, and I think that's the problem, because it looks so simple. People assume that it's quick and it's cheap, and it's not. Whereas brain surgery and lawyers and stuff, it's all very technical and things like, you know, it's like web design, I suppose, and web developers get paid a lot because it's a technical thing. People don't see graphic design as technical, and it is. There's a lot of technicalities into it if you do it right. There is, and that's why you can very easily see between a professional graphic design and an amateur one. You could look at them and go, that one just looks right, feels right. That one, not so much. So, it's hard being a designer in the way that it's hard to get people to put their trust in you and pay you what you're worth. Because people don't often see that worth up front. Kind of goes back to, you know, how do people how can you say you're worth this? What's the value you can give me? So that will come from the experience and stuff again. But I think it's up to people like me, the more experienced designers, to give that confidence to the young designers that they should be charging more. If they all charged more, it would help the industry as a whole. But because there are a lot of people out there, a lot of designers who are like, no, I want to protect my job. But they think by protecting their job, what that means is don't help young designers who can potentially take work away from them. They won't take the work away. If you're good at what you do, people want to work with people, like in anything. So every designer's different. I'll have a meeting with a client and treat it entirely differently to someone else. Someone else may be more analytical. I'm very much, let's see how this rolls. And, you know, I want to know the person. I don't go in with a questionnaire. That'll kill it dead. Right, I've just got this 20-point questionnaire for us to go through. Oh, they've come to you excited about getting a brand done, and you're like, let's analyze this. I'll just have a chat. They'll be answering the questions, but they don't know it. I'll be taking notes, and by doing that, by helping young designers be confident, it will just boost everything. And then these people who are worried that they can't make, or they'll have their clients stolen away, will soon find out that, well, because the younger designers are confident and they're charging more, the experienced professional, longer serving can charge more. It's all a scale. You know, it'll all scale up. Not to the point where I want to overcharge people. I think it could get a bit ridiculous. But I think this bottom end needs to be brought up so that we are treated as the professionals that we are. And I think it would also mean that any amateur bedroom designers would be more keen to study the basics of design rather than just running in and throwing any, because that's the thing as well, because there's so many amateurs muddying the waters with rubbish designs. When you do a Google search for logos, there's so many awful things coming up in these searches that anyone who's not a designer will be like, I don't know, what's the difference between that and that? Why is that any different? You know, so it's there's a lot of onus on people like me, I think, to educate clients and designers. Definitely. You know, to just be brave, take that leap, that thing that I didn't do for 10 years. But that's because I had nobody telling me. I had nobody saying, you know, do this, do that. I could read books by Paul Rand, you know, who did so many famous logos, but he's so far out of reach that I couldn't connect with that. What you need is designers who are halfway on that journey, or a third in or 2/3 in, to be speaking to the people who, so the 2/3 speaks to the person who's the third speaks to the person who's at the bottom. So you've got that confidence graph. you know, you'll soon be here, rather than we're there, need to be Paul Rand. That's a chasm.
Yeah.
And people give up. I'll never get there. You know, and then go work in wherever, McDonald's or whatever, because they don't feel that they can make it. It takes time. Yeah. It's not, you know, some people are super talented and will get picked up like that. That's the 0.1% of the world. Everyone else has to work hard and train to get there. So, I forget what the original question was now, Elliot.
No problem.
Felt like a good answer though. Felt meaningful.
Brilliant. Yeah. How transformational for your business has content marketing been? I mean, you put a lot of really good quality blogs. Your YouTube channel's doing really, really well. I mean, to what extent
has that? It's been a game changer.
Really?
It's been. I mean, I think content marketing is one of those phrases. I think, you know, you either know what it is or you don't, or you think it's one of those. It's a tactic. I didn't know what content marketing was. I had never heard of it as a phrase like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It seems a lot longer. It seems like I've been doing it forever. In a way, I have been doing content marketing forever because I'm a helpful person, and content marketing is about being helpful and useful. It's, you know, you're basically just giving you're giving advice and you're being helpful so that when someone is looking to buy, they may think of you because you've been super helpful to them without constantly saying, buy from me, buy from me. You're just like, here, do you want to go and do this? You can go and do it on your own if you want. Here's how you do it. You'll give it a go and you'll probably go, I can't do this. Yeah. I'll go speak to Col because he obviously knows what he's doing. But for me, content marketing has helped in a way that, from what we've just been talking about, it's helped me to focus on my message. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to say? Whereas before, I'd be doing it on a one-to-one basis with the client. This now meant I had to write a blog. So I had to, rather than just have a kind of a chat with someone which can go anywhere and you can always come back. With a blog, you can't do a Billy Connolly and start and go way off there and then come back because people will get lost. So it made me focus on my message and take the skills that I have and actually analyze them. What is it I'm doing? How do you do this? And so I started writing blogs. Now I don't love writing. People did say though that the people that knew me said, you know, they're really quite good and it comes across like you write the way you speak. And I thought that could be a good thing or a bad thing. And so I found it really hard. And then Chris Marr, who runs the Content Marketing Academy, which I'm a member of, had said, you'd probably be quite good at video because you're quite a chatty person. I was like, I'm not going to video. I don't even want to get my photo taken. I'm not going to go on video. It's like, no way. And then it got to the point where it was that leap thing, that scary leap. And I went, right, I'm going to do it. I'll have a look at YouTube and see what's out there. Oh my God, there's hundreds of designers out there and they've all got 100,000 subscribers and 1 million subscribers. There's no point. Why should I do it? I'm not going to do it. There's no point. It's oversaturated. And then Chris said, but remember what the content marketing thing is. It's about you. You will deliver information which may be exactly the same information, but you'll deliver it in your way. People buy from people. So someone may be watching a designer's channel, but they don't connect with the way that person's delivering. But then they'll watch yours and they'll like the way that you do it. He's got a good way of convincing you to try something, which is quite scary. So I did it. I took 3 days to record a 5-minute video and edit it and put it out there. And it was like I think it was the 5 basic types of logo. And it's my best performing video, and I look like a block of wood in it. I'm just so reading a script and everything. But I really got into it. I started to enjoy it. And it was a slow journey, you know, because you get fixated on the numbers. Yeah. How many views have I got? How many subscribers have I got? And I very quickly gave up on sort of focusing on that because you could get lost in doing that. But again, Chris said, just do the content. One of the things with content marketing is consistency. You have to be consistent because if you start to build up an audience, they start to expect to get content from you. And I kind of I was trying to still do my blog, my written blog, and do my video, and I was thinking about doing a podcast, and it kind of all fell apart a little bit, and I became really inconsistent, and I noticed that my stats on Google Analytics and things were dropping, and so I decided, right, what do I enjoy most? The video. Right, let's just try and kill it on YouTube. Let's just focus on that, because then once you do that, the video could be repurposed as a blog, it could be repurposed as a podcast. So that's kind of how my brain started going into that, and I just started doing a video. Well, what happened was Chris started a 90-day challenge in the Content Marketing Academy that you had to set a goal that every week you were going to do X. So I said, right, I'm going to do 2 videos. And so we did that 90 days, and I stuck it out. It was hard, a lot harder than I thought. I didn't do a plan. So I was like, what will I do this week? What will I do this week? And I noticed the channel was growing a little bit, and I got 100 subscribers, and I was over the moon at the end of the challenge. And I think it was just after that challenge, another person that you've interviewed, Gavin Bell, the Scottish Casey Neistat, the nutter who jumps off cliffs in Shetland, had started doing a 100-day challenge, 100 days of vlogging, and I was aware that I was still quite wooden. I wasn't relaxed in front of the camera, and I'd spoken to Gav, and he said that he noticed that for him, just doing the vlog every day and just having a chat. It wasn't edited, it was just him, 2 minutes or whatever, 90 seconds, 60 seconds in Gav's case. Quick chat, off, next day off. I thought, I'm going to give that a go. So I started that in December, 1st of December. I can't remember what year now, 2015 or 16, I can't remember. Must have, I can't remember, it's really bad, things moved together. And I did that. And I stuck it. It was a hard challenge. Some days you just don't want to do a video. You've had a crappy day or whatever, or you think I've not got anything to say. People that know me know that I always have something to say. So my vlogs tend to be a little bit longer than Gav's, but people were watching them, and I was just giving a little bit of behind the scenes. And I think it was good as well to let people know what doesn't work. Yeah. As a designer, this was really tough today, and that was really tough. So it kind of opened things up a little bit. I got to 100, and I looked at video 1. And video 1, I was using my iPhone, selfie camera. Halfway through, I changed to a vlogging camera and an external mic, and it just, you look at the change. And so I did a sort of a celebratory 100-day video on the differences in what I'd learned, and it was amazing. It was, when I look back on that first one, it's dark, and I'm just like a bit nervous, and then on the last one, I'm walking up to the camera and I'm doing all these things, and it was one of the best things I could have done for my confidence, for the skill level on camera, getting used to treating the camera as a person rather than this thing. It just opened up doors, and it made my YouTube videos, my sort of weekly videos, a lot better. I was less prone to cutting out mistakes. I kept, a mistake's a mistake. If you cut out all the mistakes, it's like a Facebook life, it's like an Instagram life that's just all the gloss. It's not like that. I wanted people to watch my videos and it be like speaking to me in person, and I'm quite teachery. I think I'm quite slow at speaking when I'm trying to explain stuff. And I very quickly picked up an audience of designers. Now, I started the YouTube channel to educate potential clients, but the younger designers started to pick up on that, and a lot of them are from India, Asia, Pakistan. So I think my speaking style, which is quite slow and quite succinct, they're able to understand things. And I get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, I love your videos. The way you speak is easy to understand things." And it's just the way I've always delivered stuff. I'm not doing it deliberately. But I think we're at 3,250 as of today, something like that, which I find incredible. That I'm not as naive to think that all 3,000 of these people are watching my videos. I know what it's like to subscribe to a channel on YouTube then never go back to it again. But I do have a core group of people that I'll put a video up and I'll get 100 views within 10 minutes or whatever, on certain ones. And it's now trying to find out what people want to learn, because you could do a video and it's like, woohoo! You do another one and you're like, where is everyone? Why is nobody watching it? And that might be a slow burner. But yeah, my first video is 30,000 views or something, and it's not. It's about the content. That's the thing as well. It's not about celebrity status and things like that. If you deliver good content with content marketing, to get back to your question, consistency and good content, useful content. If you go in thinking that it's about celebrity and look at me, people will move on. You've got to be useful to them. And that's the hard part of content marketing, is being useful without the fluff. You know, especially on video, your attention spans on video are super short. So I'm learning as well that you need to kind of get into it as quick as you can and try to keep it as concise as possible. My earlier videos, I could kind of go on a bit, whereas I used to have like an intro animation, which was about 8 seconds long. So I'd say, hi, it's Col. Here's what we're talking about, intro video. And I don't do the intro video. Why is it there? It doesn't need to be there. It's just, here's what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about it. And just get straight into it. So you do learn things for short stuff. I think if you're doing longer things, maybe like your interviews, like it's more like a TV show, the intro's natural. People expect it to be. But if you're trying to deliver things in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, don't waste 10 seconds of that time with it. Chuck it on the end. I've got a thing at the very end. So if someone's right at the end, great, they'll watch that. But the start's the important bit. That first 10 seconds, if you haven't caught them in there, then it's going to be difficult. So do it useful, consistent, and just turn up. You know, just turn up and be you. Don't be somebody else. You've got to be you, because that's like what I said in branding. If your core values are based on what you're trying to sell, people will see through it and you'll get bored of it. So I think if you're going to start doing video, just be yourself, as much as you might hate it because you're not comfortable with it. It's how people see you every day. It's no different. It feels different because you're speaking to a camera, but it's just how you are. You might be a bit stilted, but doing it more and more, you'll just end up being just like you. I think in this situation, being interviewed as well, because I'm used to just being on camera a little bit, I'm a lot less nervous about this than I would have been if this had been a year ago, 2 years ago. I'd sweat pouring down my face and everything. It'd be an entirely different thing. But
I can always tell with people that have done well, I suppose speaking, but also in front of camera. You can definitely tell.
I mean, that's the thing with with content marketing as well, and me saying it helps me kind of hone my message a little bit. Chris from the Content Marketing Academy gave me a couple of great opportunities to go on stage at CMA Live, his conference, and that was another, geez, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I want people to become aware of who I am and what I'm doing. And I think my look helped a little bit. It kind of sticks in people's mind, and I made sure I wore a kilt on stage as well. So it was like just doing something to be different, to stand out and be yourself. And without content marketing, I wouldn't be doing speaking. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair.
It's true.
You wouldn't be interviewing me
if
it wasn't for the things that content marketing has got me doing. You think you go into content marketing to write a blog. Chris was actually talking today. We have a catch up on the CMA, and he was talking today about goal setting and how you could set your goals, but you might not achieve those goals. But by trying to get to those goals, you'll achieve other things. And that's the same for content marketing. If you get into it and start to understand how you should be delivering your own topic, you don't know where it'll take you. It'll take you to sitting in front of yourself, Elliot, or it'll take you to being on stage, or it'll just take you to helping people in a different continent build a life for themselves. That's the most amazing thing. I have a teacher in the States who uses my videos to teach her class. That's mind-blowing to me.
That is mind-blowing.
That's not, you know, I'm not making anything from that. There's no revenue in that for me. What I get from that is just like, that's amazing that, you know, and so I think we're going to arrange that I'm going to do a Zoom call with the class, you know,
Awesome.
and she's like, oh, they'll be so excited about that, you know. That's amazing to me. I just love that, being able to help, especially kids and younger people, help them get that, miss out that horrible bit that I've had to go through, you know. Be confident, just go for it. You know, if you've got the skills and you're confident in what you do, don't let anybody knock you back.
Yeah.
You know, just keep going, and I can do that through a YouTube video. It's mental.
Yeah,
This
is linking in quite nicely with my next question, actually. And one of the things that you mentioned and that you help people with, from probably a brand perspective, but for a solopreneur, it's kind of one and the same in that, you know, finding the kind of purpose. You know, that Simon Sinek has really popularized the what is your why type thing. I mean, from your own personal perspective, I mean, what do you feel is your purpose?
Well, it's one of those ones where you start to say it and then you jump over and you go, well, maybe it's that, maybe it's that. I would say when I first think of it, I always go, it's to educate people in about design. But it's when I go into it more, it's actually about giving people confidence in their business. If we come at it from a business point of view, I have people come to me with businesses, might be startups, or they might have had businesses for a long time. When we go through the process of doing their core values and finding out what their purpose is and what their vision is and their mission, the confidence that they have, especially ones who've maybe been running the business for 4 or 5 years now, I think we need to maybe change. It's like chalk and cheese, and then the comments you get back from them, they're like, oh, this is so good, you know, we really feel we know who we are now, and we're confident that if we keep going, it's the content marketing, if we're consistent with our message and the way we push it, if we build it, they will come type approach. So that's a purpose of mine, is to give people the confidence that they're maybe lacking, and do it through design, you know, just, and when I say design, I mean pictures and helping them with kind of strategizing where they need to go with their branding. But the overall arching thing is just be helpful. That's my purpose. Be as helpful as I can in any way, even if it's not design. I'm, you know, always there for people to bend my ear a little bit. I just need to be careful that I don't give too much of my time in that way. But it's just everything I do is just be helpful. Just want to be helpful as much as I can. I get that from my dad. My dad is like the most unselfish person. You know, I would say I have a little bit of selfishness, but my dad is just so unselfish. He's just drop of a hat, he will go and do things for people, and you know, kind of I get a lot of that from him. You know, and my mum as well. You know, the two of them are like the best. You know, especially as, like, bringing up 6 kids, not an easy job. So I think, you know, we're all well balanced, and I think the helpfulness comes from, you know, always willing to kind of just step out and move over into a space that helps someone achieve what they want to do, and then just move back into my space. Because I get so much out of that. You know, we all start business to make money, to make a living, but by God, the smile on people's faces when things work for them because of something I've done, that's worth more than anything that they could pay me. That's just, love that. That just makes my day, you know, and everything, when sometimes everything's going to shit in the world around you, but you can make one person's life better for however long, you know, forever. As long as they're running their business, you know, it just keeps it on. You don't know what your legacy would be, you know, where it takes people. You think you're maybe I'm a little part in someone's life. I've created a logo for them. Bye, see you later, and then they go off because that logo is just giving them the wings to go and do what they want to do, and you don't know what they then help people do. And I don't mean from selling products. Just the confidence that you've given them in business will no doubt leak into their personal life. and week through. So it's
Yeah,
being
yeah.
a designer's, you know, it's more than the pictures, and so I think all designers are helpful. We all solve problems. We all, you know, we're problem solvers by design. What a corny phrase to use. But, you know, I think and I think a lot of designers don't realise that's what we do, you know. We are super helpful to people. So
Superheroes.
we are superheroes, yeah.
You mentioned legacy, interestingly. I mean, what do you think you would like your legacy to be?
I think that that I made a difference to, just a difference I made a difference in a positive way to people, and like I say, whether that be in the business sense or help them personally. Legacy is such a big word in terms of, wow, that's a bit, you know, deep. What do you want people to think back and stuff? But I think if people look back and said, you know, that half hour I spent with Col made a big difference to where I am at now. You know, I'm not saying it's like the be all and end all, but if they can look back and just mention my name in any way that's helped them, that'd be great. You know, I don't have any don't want a statue or anything. Be nice. Yeah, I think just my legacy would just be that people think of me in a nice way. That I've been, you know, helpful and stuff. So it's, these are the types of questions that I'm rubbish with.
It's a difficult question, for sure.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time. Yeah. How do you define success? I mean, what does success look like for you?
It's not money, that's for sure. Because I consider myself fairly successful in that, you know, I'm still going 13 years in. If success was based on money, then I'd be one of the most unsuccessful businesses going. But success for me, I think it goes back. It all ties into my purpose and the legacy thing. Success for me is how many people can I help, and is it working for them? And not in this respect, not just by, you know, not through design. I mean, I have an accountability group. Pam, Cara, and Vicky. We meet every 2 weeks, and we hold ourselves accountable. Are you doing this? You should be doing that. I find success in helping those three great people achieve things in life that they want to do, and we help one another out with personal stuff as well as business stuff. So success for me is being there for people, in a designer way or in an agony call kind of way. That's just how I measure it. I'm not one of those like entrepreneurial type people that marks success in how many inquiries have I had today, how many speaking engagements have I been given. I'm sure that may change for me. That's a different type of success, but that would be business successes, and that's not how my brain works on a daily basis. It's probably a bad thing when you run a business, but I'm always focused on the personal side of my clients. What can I do for them that helps them be better, that will help their business? Because it always goes into the core of the person running the business. Because I could help them out and do great posters and stuff like that for them, but they're only great because of the client's great with me. So it's most of my clients become friends, especially when you go through long processes. You know, we'll always keep in touch and stuff like that. I can't say that about clients from 10 years ago, where it was very much a draw this, see you later type thing. You do build up, you know, you're asking a lot of questions and they are confiding in you because you're trying to build the most personal, honest thing for them. So they have to kind of let you know. And that's why sometimes as well, some people won't be the right fit for me because they can't work in that way and they need a different designer. They might need an analytical designer who is the 20-point questionnaire, let's do this in an analytical way, whereas I'm more of a let's get to know you better And by knowing you, I can create this brand around you that speaks you and speaks to your audience. So it's kind of that sort of maybe not the most usual way of recording success, but that's just how we do it. It's just smiles. I record it on smiles.
But it's so refreshing that is your approach rather than it be kind of, like how many clients or what is the money or...
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously got those goals. I've got, I have subscriber targets for YouTube and things like that, but those are things to strive for. They're not... It's a success if you reach it, but it's not why I'm doing the job I do.
Sure.
And I think that's where you need to separate the two.
Yeah.
You've got your business successes, but then you've also got your purpose success, your vision, So, and I think I'm always working to that. I'm always working to those core things that are within me. So, big softy. That's my thing.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I'm going to swear now. It was from a lady called Laura Lucas, who basically I can thank for where I am now. Over the past sort of 3.5 years or so, 3.5 years, Pixels Inc. was about sort of 10 years old. It will be 3 years old. It'll be 13 years old in December this year. And for the previous 5 years or so to meeting Laura, I'd been working in partnership with a web design agency, two great guys, Gary and Phil, who are based down in Norfolk. And I was sort of the design arm and they built websites and stuff. And that partnership ended amicably. It wasn't a bad thing. We just kind of went our separate ways. And I decided that I was kind of treading water. I was doing okay, but I needed somebody to give me a kick up the arse and do stuff. It's too safe in my own little thing. I didn't want to take these cliff edge jumps. And so I took Laura on as a business coach. It was 6 months and it was basically the last of my money. And it was one of those, if I don't do this, I'm not going to get any better. So by giving Laura pretty much all of the money I have, I'm going to have to do something about it. So Laura came in and taught me the usual businessy type stuff and that, and give her due, I basically made the money back in a month that I'd paid her, because it gave me, some of the things she taught me gave me confidence in dealing with clients and to not be scared of the money side of things. She's the one that started to teach me to value myself. But the one thing she said was JFDI, which is just fucking do it. No matter how scary it is, if it looks like it's the thing you should be doing, JFDI. And that's always kind of been in the back of my mind when something's there. Laura's like, the back of my, is it the right thing to do? JFDI, and do it. And so, I've made leaps. I moved simple things, like to a lot of people would be simple things, moving from one office to another office. For me, that was twice the money, but it was a brand new build. It was called District 10 in Dundee. It was really cool. It's made out of shipping containers. It was perfect for me as a designer to be in there. It was the right thing to do. But I was going, oh, that's twice the money, isn't it? JFDI, it's the right thing to do. And I did it, and Laura was right. You move into that situation, you find ways to make that situation work. And so that's and I live by that now. It's always there. It's always there. So that's, it's not something Paul Rand said. It's not something Steve Jobs has said. It's not one of those quote things. I should maybe make it a quote. But yeah, Laura just gave me that boost. And Laura's the one that introduced me to Chris Marr. And that started my content marketing journey. So, pretty much where I'm at, I've got to thank Laura for that. That's been a big thing. I wouldn't be sitting here without Laura. So, JFDI it, folks. Apologies for swearing.
That was brilliant. Not at all. No, don't mind that at all. If you had the opportunity to speak to your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
JFDI. I would. I'm such a scaredy cat about stuff. I just think from just personal things that have happened and that they make you become introverted, and especially as a designer who's working on your own a lot, you become self-contained, so everything outside is dangerous. So it's about, I would go back and I would just say, have confidence in your own abilities. You don't need people to tell you you're good at that. If you feel you're good at it, go out there and kind of sing about it. Not be egotistical. Don't be egotistical about it, but be confident in your abilities, because you are good at what you do. I've got to this, I got to the stage where I was constantly needing feedback before I did anything. Is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? And I look at other people who can just go and do it, and I'm like, man, that would be, just to be able to go, that's the right thing to do. Just go and do it. So like I say, Laura's kind of teaching me to do that a little bit, but I do still, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you think that's the right thing to do? But that's what my accountability group's for, and and if it's not the right thing to do, boy, will they tell me that's not the right thing to do. So it's just having that. So yeah, just go back to myself and just go, you know what? If you want to do that, go and do it. Nothing awful is going to happen.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Whether my 20-year-old self will listen to me, because it's almost like what I talked about earlier, I'm not saying Paul Rand, but there could be this chasm. But I think the difference being is like, no, I am you. This is what you could be. And you could achieve this by the time you're 25, not wait till you're 43. Because that's the thing, if I was able to do that, by the time I was 30, I'd probably be have a bigger agency or be doing whatever. I don't know, I might be speaking somewhere, but I'm 43 years old now, and just feel like I'm starting. I feel like my 20-year-old self.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where I'm at, and I'm excited. I'm having a great time. It's all good.
That's
all
awesome.
Good, so it's, yeah.
Excellent. You speak about values, brand values, but also personal values, because often the brand is a reflection of the individual themselves.
Yeah.
What are your own personal values?
I remember for a while I hadn't actually thought of what they were, and I was sitting with clients going, come on, let's get your core values, dreading them going, what's yours? And they're going, no, I've not thought of mine. I know what mine's are though. Mine's are honesty is a big one for me. Empathy. I'm a massive empath, which could be horrendous, which is why I get scared going on concept calls. I'm like, oh, if they say what they say is bad. Creativity is obviously in there, and educate. So those are my four. I should probably have a fifth. I have a client who has four core values or pillars, and one of them is rest, which I think is great. Having a rest pillar, you must rest. I desperately need to introduce a fifth pillar to mine, which is rest. But I think if you asked people, honesty, empathy, is probably creativity. One is probably a get out of jail free one, because I'm a designer. But I think you can be creative in other ways, with what you do. It doesn't have to be design. I'm creative with the way I help people and stuff. So
yeah,
and that kind of leads into the YouTube channel and stuff. I just want to help people. I just want to. That's what I get my kick out of, is seeing people achieve something through something that I've done. And so that's and those are. It's only in the past wee while that I've been able to come up with those, because they were so wishy-washy up to that point. I probably internally knew what they were, but I couldn't write them down. I would have felt probably putting things like empathy and honesty that's not what a business's core values are. A business's core values are growth, strive to succeed, and all of that stuff. The real businessy stuff. But I'm learning now that your core values should be, deeper than the surface stuff. The mission statement is that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your purpose or your core values, you know, and then you have your vision, and then you have your mission. So it's, you get that right, and that's why it's tough, because you've got to be honest with yourself with it. And I think that's one thing I am with my clients, is if I fuck it up, I will say, I've completely messed this up, and we'll fix it, so that they know that if it's going good, they know it's going good.
Yeah.
If it's not going so good, I'll be like, right, okay, we need to hold off and do this. And I just, because I've worked for people in the past who have not been honest with clients, and I've seen the mess that causes, not so much for the client, but behind the scenes. I've worked for bosses that lie and have to keep track of lies. What did I say to them last? And you're like, I don't want to live like that.
Yeah.
Having a file on a client to what you said to them last time, so that you can come on. Jesus. And that's not a lie, that's happened. And that then reflects back on staff who are who are working in an atmosphere of, you can't speak to the client because you might say something that I've not, no. And so that's kind of where that's the good you can take from the bad, is, live by what you see other people doing. That's not for me. And that was one of the main reasons for starting Pixels Inc. was to treat people like people and not job numbers. I've worked in businesses that were small and it was great, and then we expanded, and rather than it being, how's that job coming on for Joe or Jenny, it's, how's invoice number 27 doing? Man, when you start talking like that, where's the soul in the work that you're doing? It's just get it done, get it out the door, and I couldn't deal with that. So I'm very much first name terms with people, and I think that shows. I think that shows in the way that the projects go, and that's why I try to work on longer term projects these days than short business card jobs. I don't really do. If someone came to me and said, I'm looking for a business card, it's not really the type of thing that I would do. I would refer them on to another designer that I know who's working their way up, or is maybe a bigger agency who will do that. So it's
or Fiverr.
Or Fiverr. I don't know if I'd go that far. I still think business cards are important as much as a lot of people don't. But yeah, it's that's my core values are pretty much the first two, empathy and honesty, are my big ones. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, if you could change anything in the world, what would it be and why?
It's hard to not get political with some things, and you think, but to me it would probably be just the balance of wealth. Just, there's so much wealth in the world, but so much poverty. It just doesn't compute.
Yeah.
It just does not compute, and that's, I'm not going to touch on into politics, but it's just we're in a cycle right now where the wealthy are still getting wealthy, and it's now starting to cause deaths in the lower echelons of society, and I think that needs to be changed politically, or it's going to get changed civilly. I think, and I don't mean in a civil way, I mean in a civil war kind of way. I think people are going to it's just going to, especially in the UK, we'll take so much, and we'll just take so much, but there's a point where it's going to crack and it's going to be a mess. So yeah, I would change the balance of wealth, and I would reverse Brexit.
Nice.
I think that's it's very, I suppose it's very now, it's not like cure all illnesses and things. I would do that as well, but I think get that balance right, or at least change it. It's never going to be perfect, but we need to start. If we can get some of that wealth out into the lower things, a lot of the problems that we have would be solved.
Yeah.
Health, all education, all of that would be solved. So I think there's a lot to be said for just rich people. You know, spread it around a bit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do. A lot of wealthy people do. I mean, I think people like Elon Musk,
Yeah.
who is doing the right thing. Bill Gates, you know, Bill Gates maybe more in later life. I don't really know much about what he did, but Elon Musk is obviously, he's quite social. You know, you hear a lot about him, but I think what he's trying to do, when he's stepping in to help countries with electricity problems because of tornadoes, over and above the President of the United States, things need to change, you know, when someone like that. But good on him, you know, he's an absolute visionary, and I think he's doing great things. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Good answer. Just a very quick one to finish. I feel as though I have to ask you this. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh. It wouldn't be flight. I'm scared of heights. Although I'd be very low level flying. Going through all my I'd like to live forever.
Wow.
I'd like to be immortal. I know some people say that would be horrible because everybody around you would die. That is a downside. But I think the way I am, if I could help people forever, it'd be awesome. That'd be a great superpower to have, you know? Not invisibility to go and hide in
That's the one I
cupboards and stuff. I've felt invisible for too long, I think. You know, I kind of feel invisible. Yeah, immortality would be pretty cool. But with Wolverine's healing powers, because I wouldn't want to lose a finger and then that's me stuck without a finger for immortality for forever. So so that would be pretty cool. Brilliant. Invulnerability and immortality. I'm taking 2 because I think I deserve it.
Oh, great stuff, Col. It's been brilliant fun chatting
Thanks for
to
having
you.
me. It's been brilliant.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah, it's been good talking about stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And I look forward to watching this back.
Yeah, we'll get to 10k on. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, folks.
Oh, great stuff. Well, Col, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.